Hey, girlfriend, welcome back to Unhooked Women, Wellness, and Finding Wild Joy. I am your host, Laura Nozica, and I want to start today's episode with a confession. But before I do, I just want to ask that you give the show a follow, a like, a subscribe, whatever it might be on any of the socials or any of the platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. I'm all over the place. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Come join me in this unhooked society and let's get this party started. So I said I was going to start with a confession. And I want to talk about where we land. We don't land 100% anywhere at any point in time. We are always evolving, always moving. And I wholeheartedly believe that we need to keep moving and trying new things and seeing what sticks. And I have done so many things in my career. It's been just a labyrinth of a path. And my career has not been a straight line by any means. My career looks like a big old plate of spaghetti and meatballs got thrown at the wall, slid down, and maybe there were a few noodles left. Maybe that's what stuck, maybe not. But here's a few things that I've done in my time. So one, I had a custom airbrush spray tan studio for 4 years because I'm a ballroom dancer since 2011. And I was starting a market research business, but I had some time. So I thought, wow, what a great creative outlet this would be for me to have, and doing things that made women feel good about themselves. And then I was a part of their special occasion, whatever it might have been, a wedding, a shower, a special birthday, a vacation, photo shoot, whatever it might be. And I had that for 4 years until COVID walked in and put the kibosh on that whole chapter. I've been to bartending school. Yes, bartending school. That was a backup plan that never became a backup plan, but boy, did it make me an even better party host. And those of you who know me know I love to throw a good party, but you have to have a good cocktail at my parties. And so just that experience going to bartending school made me better at hosting parties and coming up with themes and coming up with event themes. And that carried into other jobs that I had in marketing and advertising as well. So you never know where the experience is going to come in handy. I got my real estate license at one point and I tried to start that from scratch by myself, but I quickly realized that that is a lot of work, and my market research business needed more of my time because things were really, really ramping up. At one point, I also started a meetup group called SWANKS, SWANKS, Single Women and No Kids. And I coordinated brunches and outdoor concerts and cocktail parties at my house, and just trying to find ladies with like lifestyles and connect. And I had no idea that I was actually building a community. I just knew that women needed each other. And here I am still today looking to create community with women in a different season of life. I also started a podcast called the Desperate for a Diagnosis podcast with absolutely no idea where it would go because my business is mainly market research for healthcare companies. I do interviews and facilitate focus groups. And 40 plus episodes into the Desperate for a Diagnosis podcast, I turned it into a keynote presentation called Unheard and Unhealed. And I deliver it to medical and hospital audiences about patient dismissal and gaslighting, things that typically happen more so with women. I had doctors on my show talking about their own perspectives on how patients get dismissed and gaslit by the very system that's supposed to be helping them. But I never planned any of that. It just became what I needed it to become. I did 7 episodes of a podcast called The Braless Lush. Yep, The Braless Lush. You can read about her on the unhookedwomen.com website. And that's where this show evolved from. And this was just meant to be a proof of concept show. The braless lush. What is this braless lush? What's a lush? Why is she braless? Well, I think y'all ladies know that after a certain point in time, we get a little tired of the bras, and sometimes we want to be a lush, and sometimes we just need to find that thing we lush on, whether it's peace, joy, travel, more family time, just more time to yourself, some time to explore crazy things like dance and podcasting and bartending school, whatever it might be. But that show evolved into this show, Unhooked. So it still has a bra angle to it, but here we are. And now talking about a broader conversation about women, wellness, and joy, and that wild, messy, beautiful business of trying to figure out who we actually are in this time of life. And so I wanted to be really transparent with you as to why I built this show. And I built it in pure honesty. If I'm going through it, I'm guessing many of you are going through it as well. So I'm recording this episode in my own middle of the transition in menopause at 55. And I'm just choosing every day to show up for myself anyway. Show up anyway. And to trust the thread and what the universe is lobbing at me, and to believe that this is a door, not a dead end. Nothing is a dead end. So when I tell you today, there's 5 things that I'm telling you from right here in it with you. I'm not going to tell you about these 5 things from a comfortable distance. These are things that I am going through along with you. Here's what I know after all of it. One thing is always a stepping stone to the next thing, and I believe that. The spray tan studio wasn't a failure. It was a chapter 1 of just understanding what I'm built for and what drives me and what I thrive on and what I lush on. Desperate for a diagnosis wasn't a detour. It was a road. Swanks wasn't just a brunch club. It's the seed to this unhooked society that I am creating. And every single thing I've ever tried that looked like a dead end was actually a door. And we need to document these things, ladies. You really have to think about things like that, what that stepping stone was, what that chain was. And it might, we're all here for a reason. And I believe that things happen for a reason. And maybe we don't know what that reason is until years later. You have to, if you journal or if you just think about things really deeply, you may find that, I'm here because all these other chain of events happened prior to that, and how we met people and how we came into opportunities. It all builds on each other. So trust in that process, that is the path for you. You are on the path that you are meant to be on. I think you all have a version to this story. Maybe you're in the middle of it right now. Maybe life pulled the rug out recently. A job loss. Maybe a marriage that ended. Kids are leaving the house for college, and now the house is really quiet. Or maybe just that slow creeping feeling that the life you imagined at 25 looks like nothing like the life that you're actually living. and you're standing there wondering what comes next and whether any of it was worth anything. But I tell you, it was, and I promise you it was. For the ups, the downs, the tragedies, the joys, it's all worth it. So today I'm giving you my 5 ways to show up for yourself when life doesn't show up for you. And I'm giving them to you from the other side of a lot of spaghetti. So when I say spaghetti, all those things I told you about that I've tried, I have thrown on the wall because you know what it gave me, girlfriends? It gave me clarity. And I'm not 100% clear on where things are going or what's next. I'm shifting my business to a different model and a different offering. And I'm doing more stage speaking, which is amazing. And I'm doing more training. I'm doing more keynotes. I'm doing all these things now because I just tried a bunch of stuff. In fact, I just got done with a 3-week acting class and I performed a monologue from Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and I was performing Maggie. She has a Southern accent, and somehow that comes easily to me. And then I performed a scene with a partner from Steel Magnolias, and I played Malin, and my partner was Shelby. It was the scene where Shelby tells her mom that she's pregnant, and that is a life and death moment there, because if you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I'm not going to spoil it. But another Southern accent, which I loved. But anyhow, I just I just tried it, and it's something now that's leading to another opportunity. It helped me with stage presence and confidence. And like I said, you just sometimes gotta, you don't always have to pick a lane, but just throw some spaghetti on the wall, do it all, and see what happens. Okay, so let's get started. Number 1. Stop performing at the level of okay. All right, so what does this mean? The way you show up for yourself is to stop pretending you're fine when you're not. And how many times do people ask us, how are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. Husbands, boyfriends, whatever. How are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. They hate that, right? Because it's so vague. But don't be vague about it to yourself. So again, it might sound simple to just operate under fine, but it maybe isn't that simple, especially for women in particular who have been conditioned to manage everybody else's comfort around our pain. We're the glue. We're the ones who always have to keep it together. And then someone asks you how you're doing, and you say, oh, I'm good, or I'm just figuring some things out. And you say it with a smile. And that's not really the honest truth. In fact, there's a book out there that's titled, I think it's called something like, Are You Really Okay? And did you ever get into a situation where maybe you were just, man, sad and dying on the inside, but you're keeping the stiff upper lip, and someone says to you, how are you doing? And you just start with the waterworks? I don't know about you, but that's happened to me. Because somebody actually asked me, are you okay? And it just opened up the floodgates. But stop performing at fine, whether it's at the dinner table, on the phone with your mother, on social media. Oh my gosh, on social media, no one's just fine. Everyone is either, look at me living life. I'm on a safari, or I'm in Thailand on an island, or some people are really talking about, today I'm having a bad day, but no one is really operating in fine. And fine is a gray area that we need to figure out where fine really lives for us. Where How are we defining fine? And why are we just fine? Don't be just fine. Be amazing. And if you're just fine, we need to walk through that. And in the meantime, underneath all of that, performing is fine. You are exhausted and scared, and you're grieving something real. I think if you're just fine, there's something uneasy, uneven, unlevel, whatever it might be. And just stepping up to say, I'm not fine. I'm not fine with being fine. How about that? Don't be fine with being fine. Oh my gosh, that might be the name of my next talk. Don't be fine with being just fine. Here's what you try instead. Find one person and tell them the truth. Not the edited version or the version that makes them feel comfortable, but the real version. I lost my job. I'm scared. My marriage ended and I don't know who I am without it. I thought my life would look differently by now, and I'm grieving that. And it's okay to say that because chances are the person you're talking to is going through something similar or has in the past and might have a wealth of advice or shimmer of you will get through this themselves. So naming it out loud is not weakness. It's the first act of showing up for yourself. And you can't build something real when you're performing at okay or fine. You can't solve a problem that you aren't able to acknowledge, and you can't heal something that you are covering up with a smile. So many of us are just going through life smiling. And again, those people on social media who makes it sound like their lives are all glamorous and dandy, chances are they aren't, right? So stop performing. Start telling the truth, even if it's just to yourself first. And that's where everything real begins. Number 2, get honest about what you want. I mean, really radically honest. I have a whiteboard in my office with I don't know how many dozens of ideas. I've had to erase the board a couple times and start all over again with a new list or an extra additional list. I don't know. But write it all down. Just start writing what you want, not what you were supposed to want or what somebody wanted for you. So sit with this question. The life you thought you wanted, the career, the relationship, the version of success that you've been chasing, was that actually your ideas, your dreams, or was it just kind of concocted from other people's expectations or the cultural scripts or the blueprint that you inherited before you were old enough to even write your own? For instance, this story, so many people know this story, but I wanted to go to performing arts school for college. And that was discouraged because we've heard about all the starving artists out there, right? Only a few select make it. But I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be a thespian. And it just really bugged me for years. And in a way, it still does, but I picked a major that would pay my bills. I picked corporate communications, and I just disliked business like you would not believe. But I graduated with this Bachelor of Arts degree in corporate communications. And then, of course, I went on to get my MBA in marketing. So, hey, guess what, people? I had to take accounting and economics and all those business classes that I did not want to take. But I learned that from a performing standpoint, I've been performing my whole life. I have given presentations. I have been asked to speak in church or in some type of speaking capacity. whether it was at work or now the podcasts, I've presented market research presentations. And so I look at that as performing. I'm a amateur ballroom dancer for over 15 years. So I've been performing for a long time, but it just didn't show up in the way that I thought it would with acting school and I don't know, maybe being on Broadway, who knows? But I'm not saying that that dream wasn't real or these dreams that you have weren't real. I'm just saying that sometimes life pulls the rug out precisely because we were standing on the wrong rug, or it just showed up in a different way. That magic carpet showed up and took us in a different direction. And so you jump on and see where it goes. But that doesn't mean that the feeling that you wanted from that dream or that desire you had didn't come true. It just might have shown up in a different way. So when everything falls apart or goes sideways or just stops working, there's a window, and it can be uncomfortable, but it could be valuable. And that's when you get to ask the question that you've been too busy to ask. What do I actually want? Not what looks good on paper, not what makes sense to other people, not what you were told you should want by a certain time or a certain age, but what actually lights something up in you when you imagine it. So, this question is not indulgent or selfish. It's not a luxury for women who have more time than you do. That question is the work, and that's where it starts. And that's why it's most important to do the work that you will do for that reason, for answering that question in this season of your life. So sit with it, write about it, say it out loud, and get that clarity about what you genuinely want and how to start that foundation, because that will dictate every next move. But without it, you're just building on sand. It's not stable. So get clear on that. Number 3, let's get back to the spaghetti. But pay attention to what sticks. So if you've heard the saying, throw the spaghetti on the wall and see if it sticks. So one, I think back in the day, if people were actually throwing spaghetti on the wall, if it stuck, that meant that the spaghetti was ready. Metaphorically, you throw spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks, and it can mean anything: an idea, a direction. You toss a bunch of ideas out there, and you get to the point of figuring out which one makes the most sense. And maybe it's not just one, there could be 3, the top ones, and you cull it down from there. But I already told you about the spray tan studio and bartending school and real estate, all of that. My podcast did all that. But from the outside, that might make me look like someone who couldn't make up her mind. And sometimes, yeah, that could have been the truth. But you don't know until you don't know. You have to try things. And some days it actually felt like I didn't know what I wanted. And it was just this chaotic swirl of rich ideas and not enough clarity about which one to chase. But I do. I am an idea machine, and I encourage all of you to send me a note if you're in a space where you got too much spaghetti in the bowl and you don't know which one will stick. Hey, shoot me a note, Laura at unhookedwomen.com, and just say, hey, I've got this idea, whether it's for a business or a book or just where to go next. Just shoot me a note. But here's what I've learned, that the spaghetti phase is far from failure. The spaghetti phase is exhausting. but can be very illuminating. We can even call it research that you'll ever do on yourself. Let's call it soul searching. How about that? The spray tan studio taught me I'm an entrepreneur at my core, and showing up to the same physical space every day, working late nights, running a retail operation is not my bag. And that was a real and valuable thing for me to figure out about myself. Now, what I loved about it was the creative part. I loved everything about it, but yes, there's pay the rent. I didn't need to hire people, but I had to order my own inventory and then keep track of all that. All those operational detail things. Not my favorite thing, but if you're a solopreneur, you do everything. Like my dad would say, chief chef, I don't know, something like chief something and bottle washer. You do everything when you own your own business, and there's things we don't like doing. What I loved about it though was finding business. I loved creating the promotions. Everything was a beach theme. And so I love all that island stuff. You're going to find me retired on an island one day, but it was creative, the promotions, the newsletters, how I designed my studio. It was, again, a very beach themed, aqua blue walls and um, palm trees in the studio. It was great. And that's what I loved. And I figured out that I need a creative outlet. That's what I look for. Bartending school taught me that people drive me, and sometimes they drive me crazy. But as far as people who fill me up, being with people, being social, that's a huge driver for me. And I love entertaining and I love creating an experience. And this thread runs through everything I do now. Real estate taught me, yep, got back to business. This is true business. There is an emotional angle to it if you're working with residential buyers, but it taught me about business and investments and different markets in ways that I draw on now, even if I had not sold a single house. But I will say that real estate class, the class that you take before the test, it's all real estate law. That is something that everybody should know about. They should teach that in high schools. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But the information was invaluable so that you can talk the talk when you buy a house. It was an incredible learning ground. And the real estate brokerage that I worked for had impeccable sales training. So again, all part of being a solopreneur. Desperate for a diagnosis, that podcast told me that I have a voice that can reach people who are in pain, and that medical advocacy and women's voices is really something that I care very deeply about. Like I said, I gave a keynote presentation about it that I would have never have written just for the sake of writing a keynote. I heard the stories from patients and doctors, and the medical community needs to hear those. Swanks, my meetup group, taught me that women are desperately hungry for real community, and I'm someone who can create that. And we lost so much of that during COVID. And finally, people are getting back to really craving. Talk about a lush. People are really lushing on being with other people and getting together because it's so, so important, because that is what makes us human. Every piece of spaghetti stuck somewhere. It wasn't wasted. I'm part Italian, but not like true 100% Italian, where they would tell you, never waste the pasta. Somebody out there is saying, never waste the pasta. So if you're in the middle of trying things that aren't working, don't stop. Just pay attention to it. And what is draining you versus what's lighting you up. It's like a little compass that's telling you something. And Sure, if something's not working, there's a concept called fail fast. And you do it, you try it, you evaluate, see how you like it, and then you move on. But chances are you learned something from the experience. And then another door might open. It might open sideways, but a door may open. Another way to think about things in your life and what fills you up. Keep learning, keep discovering, keep throwing the spaghetti on the wall, and keep paying attention. Again, one thing is always a stepping stone to the next, and trust that thread or trust the noodle. How about that? New bumper sticker, trust the noodle. Oh, t shirt, merch. Should I do merch? Trust the noodle. And stop being fine with fine. Anyway, number 4. Oh, this one. Protect your energy like it's the most valuable asset, because it is. And girlfriends, I don't know about you, but in this season of menopause, my energy some days, there is no Energizer bunny or the phone. How many bars do you have? Sometimes you know, it's red. It's warning, warning, and we're in big trouble. But you have to protect your energy physically, mentally. I'm not saying don't go work out or anything like that, or don't go work in the yard, but you have to protect your sanity. And when life falls apart and everybody has an opinion, and your family has an opinion, and your friends have an opinion, your social media people have an opinion, there's a very, let's say, seductive pull to spending your time in this entire transition managing everyone else's feelings about your life instead of actually building your next chapter. So here's the permission slip. You do not own anyone a performance of having it together. You do not owe anyone access to your process while you're in the middle of it. And you do not owe anyone an explanation for the choices you're making while you're still figuring them out. What you do owe yourself is energy protection. And that means being selective about who you talk to about your transition, because let's just face it, people are judgy. It means limiting time with the people who drain you or project their fears onto your situation, and the ones who say things like, "Are you sure about that?" Or "What's your backup plan?" Or "I just worry about you," in a tone that is really about their own anxiety or thinking about their own situations and not your actual well being. It means building a tight circle of people who believe in you, even when, especially when, you're not sure that you believe in yourself yet. People who hold this vision for you when you can't hold it for yourself. Those people are worth their weight in gold, let me tell you. And I have a few, thank goodness. But if you don't, go find them, keep them close, tell them what you're building. But your energy is not infinite. And in a transition period, it's actually sometimes your scarcest resource. So spend the energy on building, not on explaining, not defending. Number 5, reframe the timeline. I don't know about all of you, but 50 came fast. And then I started thinking, I think that's why I have all these ideas, because there's so many things I still want to do. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, time's ticking. Oh, dear God. But I'm wrapping our list here with this one because I want you to think that this is the most important and the most maybe counterintuitive thing that I'm going to say today. But we live in a culture that's obsessed with early success, 30 under 30, 20 something founders. Uh, the kids, as they say, are surpassing us as far as they come out of the womb knowing how to use social media and now AI for sure. A 4-year-old knows how to use an iPad and you never even showed them how to use it except how to turn it on probably. But just because you haven't arrived by a certain age or you think you missed the window, and especially for women, that's a brutal, brutal message because we also got the message that we were supposed to be doing other things like raising children and managing households and supporting everyone else's ambitions. And in the meantime, we're not building our own empires or maintaining a certain degree of independence. So here we are sitting at 40, 45, 50, 60 even and beyond and looking at the gaps between where we are and where we thought we'd be and calling it failure. And I want to challenge that with everything I have. Now, like I said, I'm going through it too, but I'm going to challenge you. I started the Swanks group, SWANKS, Swankies, we were called, because I needed a community and I didn't see it anywhere. I didn't know back then that I was planting the seed for this unhooked society that I'm building. And I have an idea of what it's going to be, but it's kind of a salon style community for women. And I don't mean salon, get your hair done. It could happen at a salon where you get your hair done, but a salon is a gathering of people. So in our case, women over a certain age who are looking to share experiences. And the salon is usually focused on a very specific topic. Maybe there's some author or speaker or somebody and they're interviewed or they do a talk and it's just very, very focused camaraderie and conversation. And so who knew that was the precursor to what I'm looking to build next. And there's no timeline to it, but this is what I feel I'm being led to. There's women who have been through job losses and divorce and caregiving, and then we're in this identity crisis and we're questioning so many things, but you have nothing to prove anymore after a certain age. You got it. You did it. You got the t-shirt. You won the trophy. Now it's your turn to build. And the timeline you were given was not designed for you. It was designed for someone living a completely different life in a completely different era with completely different rules. So write your own timeline. And I had to grapple with that for a while too, because there were things that I thought I'd have or be in a certain situation at a certain point in time, and it hasn't come yet. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But in the meantime, I'm building for myself. So I think we have more runway than we think. And the best chapter, I genuinely believe this, might be the one you're about to start. So there you are, girlfriends, 5 ways to show up for yourself when life doesn't show up for you. Number 1, let's recap. Number 1, stop performing at okay or fine. Number 2, get radically honest about what you actually want, not what you were supposed to want. Number 3, throw that spaghetti. I mean, maybe just do it. Like, just throw the spaghetti and pay attention to what sticks. Number 4, protect your energy like the asset it is. And number 5, reframe the timeline because yours is not over. It might just be getting started. So if this episode hit a nerve in any way, I want to hear about it. Leave me a comment, send me a message, share it with the women in your life who need to hear it today, because she's out there right now sitting in her car or her kitchen or her office wondering if any of what she's done has been worth it and whether anything good is still possible. But do me a favor, tell her it is. Send her this episode, and let's build this unhooked society together. Oh, and one more thing. If you lead an organization or a company or a conference or a women's group and your community needs this conversation, I deliver a keynote presentation called How to Show Up When Your Big Dreams Don't. And I also talk about topics from my Desperate for a Diagnosis podcast as well, called Unheard and Unhealed. And it's all about women's voices from a healthcare standpoint. But it's built for teams, for women's leadership events, and for any room full of people who are navigating uncertainty and need permission to keep going. So if that sounds like your audience, I will leave a link in the show notes. But girlfriends, thank you so much for being here today and getting unhooked with me. I am Laura Nozica. This is Unhooked, Women Wellness and Finding Wild Joy. And let's get unhooked together. Love ya.